Hey all, this is 012 Boku, and you know what, let me go ahead and
Get it, I forgot.
do the introductions. We are on the next episode of The Cosby Show Season 4. And again, this one is, I believe, yes, Season 4, Episode 6. That's not what I said. And this one, again, it does move the needle with the Cosby family a little bit, because I know, Clair and Cliff have had their problems, but there's always been reasonable things to those problems. But what starts this episode off is that Theo was in a car with a friend. They only both have their permits. They didn't go to the library to study. They went to Coney Island. Theo was in the passenger seat. His friend was driving, and then his friend saw the cops. The cops were pulling them over because they were speeding. The friend, jumps the car, goes about 3-5 blocks, I think they said, crashes into a post or a stoplight. Luckily, Theo is okay, but Theo is taken downtown. He wasn't arrested per se, but he was being watched over by the cops. Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable had to go pick up his son. Claire was there waiting. Rudy and Vanessa are, tittering over, what's going to happen to Theo Huxtable, and, is he going to get in trouble? But, they're told to go to bed. They do. Right when they do, Heathcliff gets home with Theo. Theo tells him the story. You have Claire and Heathcliff wondering, where they've gone wrong with the son, because Heathcliff gets a lecture from the cops saying, that parents aren't always there for their children, and both parents are work or don't have time for their kids. This can lead to rambunctious, wild children in a sense. And they start going over where it went wrong. Heathcliff mentions where, Theo took a razor and he, ruined his razor, so he nicked his face. And then where Claire says, Theo took the car, didn't put the car in it, and the car ran out of gas, and she had to she just got somewhere, she had to push the car somewhere to fill up the gas, and, it's within that, that neither one or the others were listening to each other for either the razor or the car running out of gas, and both Claire and Heathcliff make excuses, and it starts leading to an argument, and they start arguing about, the little things that they do to each other, and what it means, and they don't, decide on a punishment for Theo and what they should do to him for his antics. And, Heathcliff and Claire, go to bed. They go to bed angry, and, Claire wants Heathcliff to apologize. Heathcliff says, well, why do I have to apologize first? You were mean to me, and, it becomes this huge banter between them, and, they get into bed, and Claire's going to bed angry, Heathcliff's going to bed angry, and then, Claire takes all the covers in his life, and he's like, well, I don't mind, I've slept closer to other things and uglier things in the night, and, sort of like a jab at Claire about how, he doesn't mind those certain things at all. And as it continues, the side plot with Rudy, Vanessa, and Theo were there, and they look for Theo in the papers. Theo isn't saw there. Theo, tells Rudy and Vanessa how, they weren't, they didn't decide on their punishment, and Rudy and Vanessa tried to ask their dad about it. Their dad just said, how he and Claire had a fight. Their mom and him have a fight, and people love each other with a fight. Heathcliff and Claire, after all the kids are sent up to school, try to work out the problems, and they try to write down, what bothers them, and, Heathcliff finishes right away, but then Claire still has a lot she's writing about Heathcliff. Heathcliff is like, I'm done writing. Yeah, I know, I got some more things. And then he picks up his paper and starts writing again. She's like, I thought you were done. Well, yeah, but I just thought of a few more things. And then they both take their lists and argue about their lists, and then, and Heathcliff's like, well, I can understand why I'm probably doing stupid things like this. And, so Clair goes to work angry, so does Heathcliff. It gets to the point where, Heathcliff and Clair are both at the respected jobs. Heathcliff has a patient, that's just what she's called, Cliff's patient. She's like an Asian lady who comes in, played by Frida Shen, who says, she can tell that Heathcliff has a fight, and then she says the matriarchal thing where it's all the men who do this and get into fights because they can't help themselves. It's their testosterone or libido. And then he's like, well, yeah, but you guys have it too. And, she says, well, you don't make me laugh. I don't think I should pay for this visit. And I forget what he says, how he makes her laugh in the first place. And he's like, well, yeah, you should see this bill. And then, he's sort of relaxing with what she said, proving how, again, maybe both their arguments were bizarre and weird. And then Heathcliff calls Clair over the phone where she's at work, where she's with a prosecuting attorney, Mr. Hansen, who's played by Ron Foster, where, they're talking about a settlement of $75,000, and, she's trying to talk to him about it. Heathcliff calls her at work, and Claire's trying to act all professional and demure, and then, Heathcliff's, doing what they can with the music, and he's trying to tell her that he's sorry and for what, they were doing, and they want to talk about it when they get home, and it's a dance that they danced to when they first met. And Clair, is trying to play it cool in her office. Mr. Hansen's looking at her like, okay, what's going on here? And then Heathcliff says, do the office dance for me, speak to me in Spanish. And she does speak to him in Spanish and does a little bit of an office dance, but he's like, yeah, but I don't think you said I love you. And then, she has to hurry up the call. Heathcliff lets her go with a smile on his face, and then Clair hangs up the phone and she says, sorry, that was an important client. And then Mr. Hansen goes, yes, I know, my wife likes to call at the office too. So he knew all along she was talking to her husband, and they get home, Heathcliff's got the music playing, they sit together, they start getting romantic. Theo comes in, asks about his punishment, and Heathcliff goes, well, now here, boy! Don't you cock block me and your mother, but, he gets home asking about it, and, they're like, yeah, give us a minute, we'll think about it. And then, Theo goes upstairs, he's happy that, his parents are in a good mood, obviously still loving each other, because he seemed concerned when they were angry with each other instead of him earlier in the episode. And as they do this, Heathcliff and Clair, are saying they're going to get ready to see what they say. And, Heathcliff's like, well, let's say what we mean together. Clair says she's sorry, and Heathcliff's like, well, let's get some dinner. And, it's like one of those things like came off as a joke, so she gives him a playful shove, and they're laughing together, and that's how the episode ends. Basically a nice little fun breather episode. Nothing too much to move the needle, but it does show how Heathcliff and Clair do have the problems, but how they're willing to work through it, work it out, and do what they need to do, and stay parents, stay in good graces, and how maybe sometimes they can take it easy on their children, but yet punishment will still be meted, but how, they're just trying to live their lives as best they can and do what's right for the families. So all in all, pretty simple episode. I have to give it to, again, Bill Cosby, Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable, great performance. Felicia Rashad, Clair Huxtable, great performance. Both their banter, good and bad, back and forth, was excellent, funny, and well-rounded. I will also give a little thing to Frida Shen, Cliff's patient, when she was talking the way she was and giving her, I will definitely say a bit of sexist views, because to me they sort of were, because it's like, women can share the blame, men can share the blame, it's not just one side or the other, but hey, that's how we thought for years, that is the pride within both men and women. But, I thought with what she was doing, it was a good role for her, too. So, those are my characters. But, what do you guys think? Do you guys like that current episode? Do you know the episode I'm talking about? Have you seen The Cosby Show? Just let me know down in the comments below, and we'll get this discussion going, alright? Till then, I want to Boku. Talk to you later, guys.